Wagwan beautiful souls, I am Marsha C, the host of Her Sacred Soul Space podcast. In this safe space, we have discussions that ignite our hearts and expand our souls. This is a podcast dedicated to all women and is coined with spiritual and metaphysical aspects of evolving herself and aligning her purpose to her soul. Having a soul connection with oneself is the portal to life, and you can consider this podcast your stepping stone. There is a beautiful spark that occurs when goddesses embrace and empower each other's light, and that's what we are all about here on Her Sacred Soul Space podcast. Her Soul Connection. Look out for new episodes with Soul Gems every second and fourth Fridays. And remember, see your light, be your light. Welcome, beautiful souls. I'm Marsha C, and this is Her Sacred Soul Space. I'm so excited that you're here with us today on another episode, and I'm being joined by a beautiful queen, Quiana Rose. So, soul seekers, as we are on our journey of expanding our hearts and igniting our soul in such a beautiful way, we tend to, oftentimes we tend to focus more on the inner growth, the inner protection, or even just the protection of our quantum field and our energy space in a way. But how about our home? Have we ever thought about creating that balance so that our home can complement the work that we're doing on the inside? Well, that's what we're going to talk about on this episode, creating her sacred space. And Quiana is going to share with us all her gems, all her tricks, and her knowledge and wisdom that she has garnered over the years of creating these spaces for individuals with us today, so we too can create that in our home or even utilize her service, okay? So of course, before I love to create that space to center us before we go deep into our conversations. So let's do our 3 breaths. And on our first breath, we are just going to take a deep breath in and just release. Release any and everything that may be attached to us at this moment that will prevent you from focusing, from absorbing, from receiving the messages. Okay, so let's take a deep breath in, position ourselves, and we do a deep breath in. And we are just releasing as we exhale everything that is attached to us at this moment. And we're going to do a second breath. And for this breath, we are positioning ourselves to be poured into. So let's position ourselves to receive as we exhale. And for a final breath, on this breath, we're asking for clarity. And we're receiving clarity as we exhale. Let's give gratitude. So grateful. Yes. Oh my goodness, it's so good to finally meet you. You're so beautiful and gorgeous. I just love to put that out there, Yeah, that's just what I do. And so Quiana, this is firstly, when I heard about you, when I was introduced to you, I don't meet a lot of individuals who are in this niche, who knows that this is where I belong, this is who I am, and this is who I'm called to be. I want for you to share with us just a little bit of your story when your soul met what you're called to do, when you knew this was my purpose. How did that transpire in your life?
So I'm an interior designer for empaths, introverts, and highly sensitive people. Before I figured that out, before I knew those words, somewhere around the age of 8, I think I discovered that I was an empath. Did not know that was a word, did not know it was a thing. I felt like I knew and I understood that my goal and mission from God was to, how there's that like cliche of God never gives you more than you can handle. I believe that empaths are here to siphon that energy from the people who can't handle their portion. And as an empath, it is my job to absorb that and then return it back to the earth. That's the key. Don't keep it. But it's not, you don't want to keep it, but We're that beacon. That is our purpose, to help those who cannot handle some of the burden or the load that they have, to remove it from them and put it back into the earth. That is what I believe the true godly spiritual purpose of an empath is.
For those of us who may not know whether or not you're an empath, and I want to know, is kind of like there's a difference whether or not empath and highly sensitive, because to me, I have both. I can, and I know probably it's a thin line there.
Yes.
But for those of us who don't know whether or not I fall within that category, or whether or not I have that spiritual gift as an empath, what are some of the signs we can look forward to? Like, I can tell you about me as an empath. I remember when I myself did not know that I was an empath, I just used to know how I felt. Super nauseated when I'm in a crowded space, extremely drained. When I come home, I just want to curl up, watch a good movie, like a heartfelt movie, one of those movies that makes me boohoo, like real hard. I want my soul to be like, yes, I felt you, And so for those of us who may not have those experience, or may have similar and not quite didn't know how to pinpoint it to being an empathic characteristic, what are some of the things they can look forward to identify that?
So I can only say that these are my experiences and definitions. And let me first explain that I am an agnostic theist. So I believe there is a God, but I also believe it's impossible to prove that there is or is not. I do not see a separation of God and science. They go together pretty well to me. Let there be light, Big Bang, people. So when I come at the angle of empath, I see both the spiritual and like the practical in our bodies developments. Empathic individuals typically live and grew up in a situation that could be good or bad, but where they needed to be hyper aware of their surroundings. Sometimes that is a trauma-based situation where they need to know immediately the energy in the room for their own survival. So it's almost a skill that some people are born with and some people hone and are grown into because they have to be able to understand the adults around them, the people around them, the energy around them, to assess their neighborhoods. Or like they have to be able to notice some flick change of energy because something's about to happen. For me, the highly sensitive person is more sensory sensitive, and the empath is more spiritual, energy, mentally, pain, connected to people. Highly sensitive people are just basically all of our senses, and sometimes that sixth one are just very highly sensitive. I have a strong sense of smell. I have a pretty great sense of hearing. Like I perk up the same time the dog perks up. So those are kind of the physical differences for me. With highly sensitive people, I think their purpose is the deer in the crowd that perks up while everybody's drinking water, and he notices the lion before all the other ones because he felt the shift. He smelled the lion. He's like, hey, y'all, something's happening. So I think that's their evolutionary purpose. If you're having trouble noticing if you're an empath, some of the things empaths end up are with narcissists in their life because they're so easily manipulated energy-wise. So narcissists kind of are drawn to that. They might be a codependent person because they're so attached to somebody, they think that their emotions are theirs. Like, oh, when you cry, I cry. When you're in pain, I'm in pain. Those aren't healthy things. But for an empath, you might be confused when you're in a crowd and people are making decisions because you're like, I don't understand why they're making these decisions, but we're not really crowd people. And that's on purpose for our energy because we have to be able to shift and change. And because you're feeling so many people's energies, that can be confusing. So empaths often turn into introverts to avoid all that extra energy that they don't want.
Indeed. I can totally relate from my experience, from my life in a way. And one of the things when you spoke about empath can also attract narcissists. And I immediately could see that because sometimes we feel as if we not to want to be the savior because we feel and tap into that emotion so much. We want to help in such a way where it's going to end up harming us more because sometimes individuals tend to just use us because of that and because of the fact that we are pouring into them in that way. And that can be confusing as to whether or not is this really love, or is it that you're just tapping into me because of what I give you, how I serve you at this time. So let's go into, because I'm really excited for you to go into your niche for how you just transform a space into a space of sacredness and comfort. And I know you have a particular element that you utilize, and I would like for you to talk about your peace element. And I must say, when I checked out your website, that's exactly what I got from your pictures. It was just so peaceful. I just like, oh, I could sit there, and the colors spoke to my soul, to everything, every little antennas that was up perking. It just spoke to it. And I just like, I could sit here, even with just a cup of tea. I don't even have to have anyone to talk to. I could just sit here. So talk to us about the element that you use to create such a beautiful character in your design.
So I do have formal education in interior design as an undergraduate and master's. And there are principles of design. So the principles of design are like balance, harmony, things like that. So for me personally, I've developed my own principles to basically, of course, add on to those because those are the basics. And I made this acronym of PEACE. So PEACE stands for privacy, education, acceptance, comfort, and expression. So my thesis was about interior design from the point of view of an introvert. And interior design as an industry is focused on socializing. It is about being in a group and everybody chitter-chatting and talking to each other and hanging out with one another. And there's also what is now called universal design, which is basically an almost one-size-fits-all based on the person who needs the most help, like ADA-wise. I'm not against universal design, but we have gotten to a point in the industry where it needs to evolve again, and I want to do sort of an individual design. So this basically gives options and selections for a wide variety of people. And with peace, as I've studied introverts, empaths, highly sensitive people, those with autism on the spectrum, PTSD, ADHD, I end up with a lot of sort of clients in that realm. These are the principles that they value. So they want their privacy. They want to be able to be within themselves and contemplate and think and emote and work, things like that. Education is so valuable. I call the whole collection the internal person. Every internal person I've ever met is all about absorbing information and knowledge and education in whatever manner that they do that, but they want like a constant feed of it. Acceptance, most people like empaths or highly sensitive people have experienced some weird form of discrimination or roles based on extroversion, not introversion. So, hey, can you be a team player when you get your job interview? And I want to be like, no. You're going to get amazing work out of me if you leave me alone. So we have had to get to a point of accepting who we are and enjoying that. And it usually didn't start there for years and years of feeling like I'm wrong, I'm odd, I'm opposite, until you get to the point where like, oh, that's fine. And then comfort, everybody's comfort's different. Maybe you want soft pillows, maybe you want a hard mattress, maybe you want a whole lot of light, maybe you don't want no light at all. So everybody's comfort is very, very personal. And then for me, expression is about art. What is your art? Do you love to dance? Do you love to sing? Do you paint? Do you meditate? Like, do you cut hair? Like, what is your art? And make sure that you infuse that into your personal everyday surroundings so that it is constantly giving you joy and purpose.
I love that. That's like, what is your art? Like, what is your soul plate? Like, what makes your soul sing and dance in such a way? I think every woman should have herself a soul space or a heart space. For me, my heart space, it's just the things, like you said, that I like. I have my pictures. I have my crystals in there. I have a picture of me when I was younger because I just love the daringness in my eyes, and I use it to remind me of who I was when I was just free and had no limitations in a way. And so whenever I just don't want to feel, I just come here and I just stay there, you know? That's one of the beautiful things that I love about creating such a soul space.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how much their actual home where they live is affecting you all day long. I had a light switch in the bathroom that was not in the right spot in my brain for like 3 years. I reached for a light switch that was never there. It was never in that spot. so so it was like driving me crazy. Like this little tiny thing just shoves a little irritation in every single morning I have. And like think about it. I went to someone's house as a consultation, and then their kitchen was like this island. And as I turned the island, I avoided the corner, but I was like, do people bump into that little corner all the time? She's like, yes, I hate it. I was like, we're just going to cut it off. Because it's driving your whole family crazy every day for no reason.
Regarding the peace element, so with your peace element, are there particular, because I know you have a quiz, and I tried to do the quiz, and then it took me somewhere else as if I was setting up for consultation. So I didn't get to do the quiz itself to see whether it asks particular questions so I could fully identify whether I'm an empath or sensitive person in a way. But when you acquire your information, especially with your peace element, are there particular categories that you tend to go into to kind of help the client differentiate whether or not they want more of an empathic space, or a space that serve an introvert, or a space that serve someone who's more highly sensitive?
So I do ask who in the household may or may not be introverted, empathic, highly sensitive. I ask if there are any ADA requirements or needs. And I explain definitions for each of those things. And then I ask them, after I tell them about my principles of peace, which of these do you resonate with more? Like, is art something you long for? Do you enjoy being alone and having your own sense of privacy? So I try to find out what part of their world that they are missing or attracted to, and make sure that the space fits that. Because the reason I design for introverts, empaths, and highly sensitive people is there's a lot of overlap. And quite often, empaths and highly sensitive people become introverts as a way to manage their emotional and spiritual energies. So it's rare that I find one without any of the others.
Okay. Yeah. That's exactly what I wanted to find out, if there is indeed an overlapping. And I think also when we become more of the introverted side comes out, is having to do with just the joy of being alone and not having to deal with the other individuals. Not like I'm not a people person. I am, but there's sometimes I like to be my own friend. I just like to be my own friend and be in my own space. And then I find myself I would ask myself, is this normal though? Am I being shut off? Am I shutting off individuals from coming in and, connecting with me in a beautiful way? But at the same time, I know it's me just protecting me. So it's kind of good to know that there are other ways of creating that boundaries. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about some of the boundaries we could create as empaths, of course, we know there's journaling, but for me, one of my favorite way of is just grounding myself, to go outside and just walk and just to basically cut strands from any and all energy that is attached to me, that is not here to serve me.
I just wrote down grounded. That's what I was doing. And you said it.
Tell me something else. What else do you do? Or what else have you heard your clients may have done and shared with you as well to help to create that boundary?
For an empath, the best way to ground yourself, to control your own energy, to know what energy is yours and what isn't, is to put yourself in some sort of natural earth element. That's why crystals help us. That's why dirt and water and those things are incredibly important, because our job is to return those energies that don't belong to us back into the earth. Therefore, you must connect with the earth. So that is why some sort of earthy element is really important in your world. And I just made a blog post for how to do that with your fabrics and your materials and your flooring and stuff like that. It's about materials that are healthy for empaths to use to make sure that you're not, because we're that person who like walks across the rug and just shocks people in a way that's unnecessary. Our watches stop, our phones don't work because our energy is a lot for electrical objects. And it's like, if you got 5 people inside of your body messing with your watch, then it's not going to work. So it's important that we find ways to literally ground ourselves like you do at the gas station, like get rid of that energy that shouldn't be there.
What are some of the materials? Like some of the materials that helps to create a sacred space for us in our home, even if it's that one room.
So if you're thinking like sustainability is a really great way to think about it, because most of those elements and fabrics and things are natural. So you want organic cottons, you want to use things like hemp, things like bamboo, fabrics that people don't often use. Organic cotton's better than regular cotton because regular cotton has a lot of pesticides and fertilizers and things like that kind of used in it, and bleach and stuff like that. So you want things that are very, very natural so that they are still functioning as a natural earth element. If it's been processed to no end, then it's no longer doing that.
One of the things too I want to highlight to my soul seekers, especially as an empath, it's okay for us to get comfortable with saying no. It is okay, because when we feel, because we're so emotionally connected, we tend to feel like we're going to hurt the other person's feelings. And then we read that emotion that transpired amongst our emotion that we're feeling, right? And then you just pile another task onto your plate that you know you cannot handle because it is draining and it's too much. You don't have enough time to balance. And so I want to just remind us empathic souls out there that it's okay for you to say no. It's okay. Be comfortable with the word no, and be okay with listening to your body. Just listen to your body. So it's okay to do that, you know? So some of the things I said that our soul self cannot live without, that I think will be beautiful to have in our home space, in your heart space, even in your meditation room, because that's one of the things too that Quiana does. Is doesn't necessarily just an entire home. She creates a space that you need, whether it's for business, personal, meditation, stuff like that. So just wanted to put that out there. And then also, let's go into talk about the things that you have on your list that, being an empath, highly sensitive, and introvert, that our soul cannot live without, that you recommend to be a part of the home.
It's really important that you return to the basics. While we're here on Earth, we are a physical, corporeal being, and this body does affect our inner energy, our energy person. So you have to return to the basics. You have to sleep. You have to have water. You have to eat green food, and you have to have air. So we spend more than 90% of our life and our time inside of a building quite often, a work building, a home, a car. We're very deprived of outdoor air. And we have to get indoor air pollution is actually far more toxic than the outdoor air. So what we need to do is open the window, open the windows, open the doors, even if you just need a little sliver of the window so that it's constantly circulating air. Work buildings have regulations where they have to constantly be pumping outdoor air inside of the airspace. And we don't think about things like that when we're in our home. You have to clean your vents, get them. This is not something to ignore. What you're breathing all day is so important. The plant life in your world can, remove those, I can't remember if it's negative or positive, from the air so that you can breathe better. And once you can breathe, Once you can get oxygen to your brain and blood flow to your body, the air when you're asleep, like, do you have sleep apnea? Like, if you're not breathing, if you're not receiving air, everything else is going to start to decline. Your organs are going to start to shut down. Your mind and your body is going to just develop brain fog. It's an element we don't think about. We're like, oh, I need to drink water and I need to run up and down the street. What you likely are missing is oxygen. Green foods provide us with oxygen, like you need air. So make sure you're focusing on putting that in your life. The water is air. So we need constant access to a flow of air and prevent it from being stagnant in your world. That's very important to me.
So would you say that's like the one soul gem that you would want to leave with us, empath, who we're trying to create a balance within as well as outside of ourselves in our home, no matter what, just try to let some fresh air in so it circulates the home?
Yeah, like you don't have to go. I'm not saying don't go for a walk. Walks are great. But there's so much focus there on do, work. What you need to do is sit and breathe. But if you're breathing toxic energy and air, it's not going to help you. So open the doors, open the windows, give your body some rest.
So as a little girl, especially growing up in the islands, that's one of the things grandmas or grandmothers would do. First thing we would do when we get up, front door open, back door open, windows all open. It is like a cleansing effect. Every morning we have to get up and sweep our house out and tidy up the place. But those windows and doors are open because it's kind of like the rejuvenation of the soul in the home, because the home has a soul as well. So that's just what it reminds me of. And even here, I try to teach my daughter that, she would be like, and especially in the summer, Mommy, it's hot. And I was like, when last you opened the window? Could you open the window so the fresh air comes in first before I just click on the AC? We got to make sure we vibe up ourselves. We have to vibe up ourselves and get back into that space of feeling who we are. I think a stagnant home reflects through our body as well, reflects how we speak, how we walk, how we carry yourself. If your home is stagnant, you can see, especially if you're empathic or if you're gifted in that way, you can see through the person's energy that some things needs to shift, even if it means to open their home. So I thank you for that beautiful reminder that even if there's just one thing you do, beautiful soul seekers, as you try to create your space, your soul space, your sacredness in your home, is to let that fresh air greet the walls of your home, greet the corners of the closets and all that, it's kind of like a reset button, a new day, new dawn, and a fresh day, fresh breeze coming. So I love that. Quiana, I know you're located in the Midwest. Would love to visit one day. And for those of us who are not in that parameter, how do you serve us? Is it just via consultation or do you travel? I just want them to know, just in case they're like, hey, I need to tap in with that young lady and I need her to come to Atlanta. So how are we going to work it out?
So I have 3 services. One of them, the first one is nurtured. So that's full service. That means I do everything from the time we meet in the consultation to helping them set up the last flower on the table and taking the pictures. And then I'm gone forever so you can enjoy your home. So that means I arrange all the shipping and programming and project management and watch the contractors, things like that. So that's full service. And I do that for the Chicago land area, which has a weird level of boundaries of suburbs and the city. So for those who either don't want someone in their home, because, a lot of my introverts just don't want people in their house, or they might be far away, I have 2 different services. So the e-design service is just, I basically create a design for you. We do Zoom meetings, even the consultation. I've done so many homes that I can probably measure your house without actually going inside of it. Just like, what size is that tile? Okay, I got everything. And so we do all of that online. And then I give you a list of the furnishings and the decor and the things that you're going to need to make the space. I show you what it looks like. You get renderings and floor plans and instructions, and then you will go on and purchase when you're ready. Keep in mind, shipping on Earth right now sucks, so if you better do that within the next 60 days, or everything on the list is going to be gone. And then there's the remote service. This is something that's a little bit unique to me and a handful of designers. I was doing this before the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, most interior designers had to figure out, how do I serve my clients without going to them? So it's a full service project without me actually ever stepping foot in your home. It requires a lot of communication between me and my client, but I can help someone in Atlanta. I can help someone in Iowa. So it's a lot of digital communication, but it is still possible for me to help manage the project. Even if you're not in the Chicagoland area, I price everything based on what you need and what you're trying to do. So I've tried to make sure I can cover everybody, and location's not a huge barrier.
Well, I must say that I am delighted that you are here, and I'm delighted that you're here serving humanity in such a beautiful way. And I look forward to the time when the time comes for me to call you and say, "Hey, Quiana, so it's my turn now, honey." It's my turn, because we all need that. And I can just imagine, the beautiful connection and relationships that you are creating as you serve those individuals in a time like this,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beautiful thing. It's about lighting each other's lights. And even though I have this particular service, I do it in such a way because it's coming from my heart. It's heart-centered. And that's how word of mouth goes around. That's how people get to know who you are. That's how you feel good about you walking in your purpose, your soul purpose. So I just want to affirm you and say thank you for showing up in this space and at a time like this, and to all my beautiful soul seekers out there who know or believe it's time for you to create that space in your home to balance the inner work that you're doing as you continue on your journey. I will have Quiana's information in the description box so you could reach out to her, check her out on IG, follow her tips that she puts out there, and just to know that you are not alone. It's all connected. It's so beautiful. It is all connected. Regardless of what service, you will find someone who's dedicated in the spiritual arena or cocoon that can serve you in the way you need to be served as you grow. So I just say thank you, Quiana, so much for spending time with me and for teaching and educating us with your wisdom, because having knowledge is one thing, but having wisdom is another. Knowledge is knowing, wisdom is the act of doing what you know. And my darling, you are doing. So thank you for passing your wisdom on.
Thank you, Marsha, for this opportunity.
And I look forward to us connecting and in the future. And my soul seekers, as you continue to thrive, just remember, see your light, be your light. One love. Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I would be honored if you could share this episode with a friend, subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us every second and fourth Fridays for another exciting episode of Her Sacred Soul Space podcast. I'd love to hear your comments. You can always find me on Facebook or YouTube as Her Sacred Soul Space. Until then, one love, and don't forget, see your light, be your light. Magan.